Hi, this is Patty Walker, your local and community dietitian and the host of Nutritional Wisdoms. In the last show, I introduced the blue zones to you. Those are 5 pockets of population around the world that have the longest living centenarians. Those are people over the age of 100 who have a good, healthy quality of life. So today I'd like to expand on that show and offer you some healthy lifestyle habits that we can adopt here in our country. So what I did was I developed a wellness pyramid, and you will see that there is 5 different levels of the wellness pyramid, and we're going to go into each one separately. So the first is diet. So the diet, you're going to see that I suggest 70 to 80% plant-based diet. I'd love to say 90-95% because that's what the blue zones were, but I also realize practically, or in practical terms, that a 70 to 80% might be more realistic. That's still a big jump from where we are today. So of that 70 to 80% plant-based diet, the foundation I really want to encourage is vegetables. So at least 5 servings of vegetables. And you want to lightly steam or eat them raw. You don't want to overcook them, because the vegetables have your fiber, your antioxidants, your phytonutrients. They have all the fine micronutrients that are processed out when we eat the processed food. I mean, they're eliminated. So you want to have those vegetables. There is a great study, there's a couple great studies actually, that say eating 1.5 servings of a leafy green vegetable daily. So what's a leafy green vegetable? It's your spinach, it's your kale, it's your romaine lettuce, it's your collards, it's your beet greens. So some of us do that, some of us are like, I don't think I can do a leafy green vegetable, but try them. The spinach is very, very mild. I prefer arugula, which is more bitter, but 1.5 servings. A serving is considered a half a cup, so 1.5 servings is 3/4 of a cup cooked vegetables, or you could use raw in a smoothie or a spinach salad, but 1.5 servings a day reduces your risk of diabetes by 14% and improves your cognition, which is your mental ability to think clearly, by 17%. Just one added food a day it will make a remarkable difference, because there's so much nutrition in leafy green vegetables. So that's just an example. And with other vegetables, and when we get to the fruit category, I encourage the rainbow. So think about the different colors of the rainbow and try to have a different color of the rainbow from your fruit and vegetable category every day. So talking about fruit, the second category is your fruit. I do recommend 2 to 4 servings of fruit a day. And I'm not talking juices, I'm not talking your dried fruit, I'm not talking your canned fruit, I'm talking fresh fruit. Again, when I mention this to people with diabetes, they get very concerned. Oh, I can't have fruit, that's too much carbs, it's too much sugar. Fruit again, when you have the fiber in the natural fruit, your body reacts differently than if you just had the juice or the dried fruit. And it has the natural antioxidants and phytonutrients, so fruit is also a very, very good food to incorporate in your diet. So 2 to 4 servings. The best ones are berries. Berries have the highest amount of antioxidants, and a serving of berries a day improves your mental cognition. I mean, the studies are out there that the plant-based foods, and especially your fruits and vegetables, are where you want to start. Okay, so the next one is beans and legumes. So those are your black beans, your chickpeas, your kidney beans. It's a category, again, that Many of my clients are afraid to eat, whether because it causes too much gas, abdominal pain, or it's going to affect their blood sugars. Well, I'm here to tell you beans are probably the best source of carbohydrate that a person with diabetes could eat. They are very high in fiber, and they also contain magnesium and chromium, and both of those are essential for good blood sugar control. So in the Blue Zone studies, they averaged over a cup a day because, again, the beans were one of their major sources of protein. But in our country, if you could either just start incorporating a half a cup a day, and you could do that by having beans for breakfast instead of toast, by putting some black beans or chickpeas or caneli beans on your salad, having hummus, having beans in your chili, having a 3-bean chili as a vegetarian entree instead of adding meat to it. Those are simple ways that you could add beans to your diet and really get a good benefit. The next category is nuts and seeds. So nuts and seeds, again, were a good protein source, but also a good source of healthy fat for the Blue Zones. The nuts and seeds I'm talking about are not the canned variety that are heated in oil, so I don't want to use any name brands, but if you go to the grocery store and they're in a can and you have to open the flip top, they're processed and heated with oil, which changes how our body reacts to them. Anytime you heat an oil, it causes the oil to be inflammatory in our body, and so you don't want to heat your oils up. And so the best nuts to have are your raw nuts. And so there are packages of them. When I go to Trader Joe's, they have 1-pound bags of almost all types of raw nuts. Major grocery stores also have your walnuts, your pecans, your almonds, unsalted raw. What I do want to caution you about is not getting them in the tubes that are in the grocery store that they're all in the plastic tube, and you open up the slot and you fill your bag. You don't know how long those nuts have been in the tube. Once you expose fat, or the nuts or any fat, to air, what you do is it starts breaking down and spoiling. It increases. They make them rancid. So what I actually tell my clients to do with the bags of raw nuts is keep them in the freezer, because you can still eat them directly out of the freezer. They have a high fat content, like ice cream has a high fat content. So you can eat them directly out of the freezer, or the refrigerator is the second best option, but try not to have them on your counter exposed to light and exposed to air. So nuts are another really, really valuable source of protein and healthy fats. And we know that a handful of nuts, one of the studies that I read, a handful of nuts 5 days a week can increase your life expectancy by 2 years. So nuts are another really, really excellent option. A handful would be equivalent to 1/4 of a cup. So a handful, not a canful, okay? But we're not doing cans anyways, we're doing bags of raw nuts. All right. Then whole grains. Whole grains are an essential part of the Blue Zone diets. Whole grains would be grains that have not been processed. So one of the issues we have in our country is the most common grain that we consume is wheat. And when you process a grain, it alters how our body responds. It increases blood sugars, it can be very inflammatory, and it may have less nutrition. So an example of wheat, again, many of the products we have is enriched wheat. So what enriched wheat is they've taken the whole grain, they've removed the outer part of that grain, which has all the fiber, and they've removed the nutrient core of the grain that has all the micronutrients and thrown them away. So they've kept the starch, and with the starch they've re-added back B vitamins and iron. But they didn't add the selenium, they didn't re-add the chromium, they didn't re-add the boron or the magnesium. All these micronutrients that are naturally in the whole grain, the majority was stripped, and the B vitamins and iron are added back. And without the fiber, they spike your blood sugar very, very quickly. So when I think of grains and altering, I think of flouring, flaking, flouring, and puffing. So if you flake, flour, or puff a grain, so it's most of your cereals, in all honesty, most of your cereals are either puffed or flaked, and even your whole wheat breads, it's whole wheat flour. It's not the intact original grain, because you've changed the surface area, and that again is going to change how your body responds. So wheat is a tricky grain in our country to find intact and whole. I'll give you some good examples though. Original shredded wheat is just 100% whole wheat, so that would be a good example. Another one would be Ezekiel products. Ezekiel breads, they're found in the frozen food section of the stores. They sprout the grains, they don't add sugar, and it's 100% natural grains. So that's another way to get get the intact grain of wheat. But the pastas, the cereals, the breads, they do alter. So even though it's 100% whole wheat flour, once you've changed it to flour, it does affect how blood sugars, and it affects inflammation in the body differently. There is a cracker I could recommend. Mary Gone crackers are sprouted grains, but also, believe it or not, Triscuit crackers only have 3 or 4 ingredients. They do have an oil added, so they do have processed oil, but it is 100% whole wheat, and it's not altered. So a Triscuit cracker would be a great option also. But experiment with other grains. Think of amaranth, think of millet, think of quinoa. Quinoa technically is a seed, but we use it as a grain. Think of farro. These are grains that are available in the store that you might enjoy trying, and they're intact and they're whole. Rice is another example. You want to have your wild rice or your black rice or your brown rice, not the enriched rice. If it says enriched, put it back. Pasta is tricky because the majority of pasta is made from flour, so they floured the grain. I would encourage you to try out the bean pastas. They now have chickpea pasta and lentil pastas, so that would give a little bit more fiber, and fiber is going to help reduce inflammation and blood sugar surges. So whole grains, super, super important that you choose whole grains instead of enriched grains if you want to have a good quality life and add years to your life. All right, getting to the meat. So these are things that we want to eat a little less of. So eat less meat, eat less dairy. So with the meats, we're talking choosing good quality when you do have it. Grass-fed beef, grass-fed pork. It does make a difference. Eat it when the animals are able to live in an environment where they're naturally designed to live. They're healthier, the food products are healthier. Grass has a type of fat called CLA, or conjugated linoleic acid, which is healthy and non-inflammatory in our body. So any of the grass-fed meat products and butters will also contain that. So grass-fed is your best option. And it's going to be more expensive. I'm not going to deny that. You can get it in the grocery store, you can get it at the farmer markets, but that's why you want to have less of it. Think of the meat as a condiment, and add some beans, add some fruits and vegetables to your plate. It actually will cost you less by doing it that way. For fish, you want wild-caught fish, not farm-raised. And for poultry, you want the free-range, both eggs and chickens. You can get those locally at farmers markets, and also any of the homes that sell eggs. Those are free-range chickens. So those are your best quality options. With your dairy, we're the only animal that drinks another mammal's milk. So I personally question whether we should be having a lot of dairy products in our diet. I will say sugar is the most addictive food in our diet, and cheese is the second most addictive food. So what I mean by that, both of those light up the pleasure center of the brain and encourage us to want more once that first pleasure center, boing happens. It's like, oh, I need some more. I like that. That tastes good. So sugar and cheese are two very addictive substances. And with cheese, if it's conventionally raised, it has growth hormones in it. It has antibiotics. It's full of saturated fat and salt. So it's yummy. I get it. I totally get it. But the blue zone areas, they made their own cheese from their goat milk. So the quality of cheese that they have, and you can get good quality organic cheeses and goat milk cheeses in the stores and through local farmers. So if you're going to have cheese, choose wisely. If you're going to have milk, do organic. Those are my suggestions for the dairy. And lastly, organic oils. The plant-based oils are the best. I would recommend nut and seed oils, so sesame seed, flaxseed, walnut oils, extra virgin olive oil. Try not to heat them up, because once you do heat an oil, it does change the properties and does make it inflammatory. So you're best to get your fats from the foods, such as avocados and your nuts and your seeds, and also the fat that would naturally be in any animal products that you had. So, all right. So that's the bottom of the pyramid, and that was a big one. So we're going to go through the other sections a little quicker. The next one is hydration. I know the blue zones didn't really talk about hydration, but I find that we have a lot of people that don't drink enough fluids, and fluids are super important to get nutrients to all your cells, your medications to your cells. It helps with skin integrity. So having adequate fluids is important. My suggestion is half your current body weight in fluid ounces a day. So what I mean by that, if you weigh 100 pounds, you're looking at 50 ounces of fluid. If you're 300 pounds, you're looking at 150 ounces of fluid. So that may be daunting for people that are overweight, and you may not need that true amount of fluids. So what I encourage you to do is look at the color of your urine by 10 o'clock in the morning on, and you want it to be very pale and water colored. You don't want it to be a deep yellow. You don't want it to be dark. If it's dark, it means that you're not drinking enough fluids. And there are a lot of things that affect our hydration status, which is the temperature. You know, if in the wintertime we have dry heat, you need more fluids. If you're sick and have a fever, you need more fluids. If you exercise or go to a sauna and you perspire, and in the summertime with humidity, you need more fluids. So there are a lot of other things that affect our hydration status and how much fluids we need. So just bear in mind those other factors. And the best fluids are your water, and then your teas and your coffee, and ideally not having extra sugar, artificial sweeteners in those. So we're talking ditch the soda and drink more water. All right. The next category that is on the pyramid is the sleep. The last month I did a great show on sleep and how to improve your sleep quality. I had Dr. Tina Costello as my guest speaker, and I encourage you to refer back to that episode, and you will see lots of wonderful lifestyle interventions you can do to improve your sleep. But 7 to 9 hours is really, really important to reduce chronic diseases and prevent chronic diseases. So, and that's for an adult. Children need more. But we're talking at least 7 to 9 hours of good restful sleep. Activity. So, as you know, the blue zone areas, they average 10,000 steps a day. You know, in our country, the Surgeon General will say all Americans need 75 to 150 minutes of activity a week. So what does that mean? They say 75 minutes of high intensity activity or 150 minutes of moderate intensive activity. Less than 50% of us ever reach this goal. So what I encourage you to do is start somewhere. Activity is very, very important. So there are lots of benefits of activity actually. So as far as aging, what the main determinant of age is your chromosomes. So on your chromosomes, at the end of them are things called telomeres. And the telomeres, when they shorten, it increases it encourages aging. So exercise actually lengthens your telomeres. So you're reversing aging of your chromosomes. And that's super important. So in addition to increasing the telomeres on your chromosome, exercise helps with better, clearer thinking. It helps with improved sleep. It helps with weight loss. It helps with disease prevention. I mean, exercise does everything positive in your body. If I had to say, what is the one thing you could do to improve everything as exercise? What is the one habit you could do to destroy everything? It probably would be smoking. Smoking negatively affects all systems of your body. So, and there are studies that show even as little as 10 minutes of activity a week can improve the length of those telomeres. So start somewhere. Stand up. As I said, when I do my exercise, I'll do 30 to 45 minutes, and it may be 6,000 steps, but it's not 10,000 steps. So it's still not getting me to where I'm going. And then the rest of the day, if you sit around, get up. Every hour that you're sitting, get up for 5 or 10 minutes. Walk around when you're talking on the phone. Stand up when you're watching TV or during the commercials. But be mindful, because sitting is been compared to the new smoking. So we're smoking less but sitting more. So sitting is not helpful, and you just want to be mindful that activity really makes a big difference. All right, the next category is stress relief. Okay, everything I said about exercise, the opposite is true for stress. Stress decreases your telomeres. It shortens the telomeres. It ages you. It increases plaque development. It increases oxidation in the body. It increases your risk for cancers and chronic diseases. It increases your blood sugars. It decreases your secretion of stomach acid, which will affect your digestion, and it increases belly fat. Stress is harmful to our bodies. So what can you do about it? Well, if you have chronic diseases, studies show that you actually need to practice at least 1 hour of stress reducing activities daily. And if you want to prevent disease, it's about 10 minutes a day. But what's most important is the consistency and not the duration. Build up to the 1 hour if you have chronic diseases, but start somewhere. So some of the examples are meditation. Many of my clients will say, oh, I can't meditate. No, I've tried it. It doesn't work. My mind wanders. I get too fidgety. Well, that's true. It happens to all of us. But meditation, even 2 minutes, can make a huge difference. And so what I'll challenge you to do is there are 3 simple ways to meditate. One is just to repeat a phrase or a word. Another is to listen to some type of audio, and there are a lot of YouTube meditation programs that you can download. And the third is just focusing on your breath. So any combination of that will be helpful. And just set a timer. Just, a minute, 2 minutes, and just sit in a chair. You want to have your back upright. That is important, and your feet on the ground. You don't have to sit cross-legged unless that's comfortable for you. And just focus, the first one is just focusing on the breath, inhaling, exhaling, how it feels as the breath goes down your throat into your lungs, and just be mindful of your breath. And then you get distracted. Maybe the dog's drinking water, or maybe the doorbell rings or the telephone rings. That's okay. Just get back to your breathing, and just, acknowledge that was a distraction, and get back to your breathing, because what meditation does is it teaches you to be in the present. And when you're in the present, you're not stressing about what happened yesterday and what's going to happen in the future, because you don't have control of the future. The future has, the future hasn't occurred. So meditation helps you stay in the present, and it does help relax the brain and increase those telomeres. Other forms of relaxation could be deep breathing. Again, it's a really good stress reduction before meals. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold it for 5, and slowly exhale through your mouth for 7, and repeat that 3 times, and that will make a big difference in your secretion of stomach acid in your digestion. So deep breathing before meals, 3 deep breaths. Other ones are massage or laughter. Go rent a comedy or watch a comedy on TV. It's good for you. So those are some examples of stress relief. All right. And then as we're getting to the top, social connections, we're hearing more about this in the media. And I'm going to say I read an article that if you invest in 1 or more hours on social media a day, so we're talking Twitter and Facebook and Snapchat, you have increased risk for depression. So you're thinking, wait, that doesn't make any sense. You just said social was good. Yes, social is wonderful, social connections, where you're looking at someone, you're making eye contact, you're putting your hand on theirs, you're putting your hand on their arm, you're paying attention, you're in the moment having a conversation. So it's the person-to-person connection, and you can get some of that with Skype and with FaceTime. So if you can't get person-to-person, then certainly add that to your repertoire. But you also want to be in organizations that you want to be with like-minded people. So that could be in civic organizations or in church. And the other thing I really want you to encourage you to do is to rethink your friendships and rethink the people that you hang out with. And if you kind of are dreading hanging out with a certain person, then maybe it's time to rethink that relationship, because the goal is to hang around people that you like. Find a tribe that supports you and encourages you and loves you, because getting that social connection is a very, very important part of adding years to your life and life to your years. And the next part of the pyramid is sunshine. Sunshine is so important for our circadian rhythms. That's our biological clock to get us up in the morning. But more importantly, it is the best source of vitamin D. Where we live up in New England, we don't have a lot of strong sun rays from mid-September till mid-May. And so we don't get enough vitamin D from the sun at that time of year. But fortunately, our bodies can store vitamin D. And what you want to do is from May through September, any day that you possibly can, I encourage every day, but any day that there's sunshine, go outside with unexposed arms and legs, so shorts and a t-shirt, and no sunscreen. Stay out in the sun until your skin turns slightly pink. That's about 5 to 15 minutes for most people. And what that will give you is 6,000 international units of vitamin D that your body will store and hopefully get you through the long winter months. So vitamin D is so important in many processes in the body, and it's a super, super vitamin, so you do want to get the best form, which is from sunlight. And then finally, you're going to see that tip of the pyramid. It's not meant to be the tip of the iceberg, and that's all you see. But I do encourage a 90-10 rule where there's absolutely room for the other things, the ice cream, or not exercising a day a week, or missing meditation. But what we do most of the time is what's going to determine our future. So, to sum it up, if you want to live a long life in good health, you need to pay attention to the lifestyle choices that you're making today. And longevity is no more than the accumulation of small, permanent habits that can add years to your life and life to your years. Thank you.